Welcome into Behind Enemy Lines, a collaboration between the Paul Farrington Show and the Pack-A-Day podcast. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler and Andy Herman. Andy, I bet I can give you like 50 guesses right now. You'd have no idea where Ziggy's coming from. Unless he told you as soon as he logged on when I couldn't hear.
All right, so no, he did not. So where he's broadcasting from right now?
Yeah.
You get one guess, Andy.
Okay.
If you're within 5 time zones, I'll be impressed.
Okay, I'm gonna say Antarctica.
That's not a bad
Pretty
guess.
close. We're in Cambodia.
Okay. I'll take my wild swing at it. Not too bad.
What we found out is that Andy does not watch our episodes within the first 3 hours of their debut on YouTube.
I was just about to, and then we had to get to today's show.
Yeah, we hopped on the recording yesterday, and Ziggy had said I'm traveling on Sunday this past week. So Jack and I, Zach, we naturally thought that meant from California, back to Boston where he lives. No, Ziggy meant to Japan, and then where he had a layover, then on his way to Cambodia. So I guess you can never really be too sure with Ziggy what's actually going on. But yeah, so Robert Ziegler from Cambodia.
Are you guys too young for Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Like, we need to do an episode every week of Where in the World is Robert Ziggy Ziegler every week right here on the show.
Could probably work, honestly, with the way Ziggy's been all over the map lately. And Andy, just wanted to apologize on behalf of the Paul Farrington Show for the game on Sunday. I was pretty dominant performance from the Vikings. Obviously not a great way to go into the playoffs for the Packers, right? Having to call a timeout just to save the shutout. I thought that was, maybe a bad taste in your guys' mouth, but maybe you're going to take that out on the Bears.
Hey, we ended that game on a 3-0 run. I don't know if you guys recognize that or not. That was a dominant performance in the last 2 minutes of that game by Clayton Tune and company. So yeah, you always want to look at the last 2 minutes of the game and not what happened in the 58 minutes prior, unless you're going against the Bears and they need an onside kick recovery, in which case you want to look at the first 58 minutes and not the last 2 minutes. But that was obviously about as bowling shoe ugly of a game as you're ever going to get. We got a little JJ McCarthy, a little Max Brosmer, a little Clayton Tune. We got exactly what the NFL is supposed to be. It was in all of its glory. And yes, congratulations to you guys on an epic victory that did it end up costing you any actual draft position by winning that game?
Yeah, I believe
because Detroit won, it stopped us from going to 4th in the division.
Oh yeah, so you ended up a harder schedule too, right?
Yeah, and Indiana, yeah. I believe we also jumped Indy right at the end. Ziggy, I know we're picking 18th now.
Yeah.
So we successfully finished our quest of moving from 8th or 9th in the draft to the first team out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it looks like it only cost you a spot. If you're 8 and 9 based on your win percentage, you just would have picked 17th. So now because of the loss, so it only cost you 1 spot in the end. So that's not terrible. Only 1 spot, but now Detroit picks ahead of you, and so that's not ideal either. And then you get the harder schedule next year.
Yeah,
so.
the big one
is easier schedule.
No, we get 3rd, they get 4th. So they have Arizona, we get San Francisco.
So you get the worst of both. They get the better draft pick, and you get the the harder schedule.
Welcome to life as a Viking fan, Andy. it's not one or the other. It's usually the worst of both. And you know what's incredible. Even funnier is it's as you said off the top of that, we just got a little of JJ McCarthy too because he got hurt again. Yes. So it was in many ways the nightmare finish. But we said this last week. And over the past 5 weeks, as we've been winning since essentially being eliminated, I guess it's still good to win and end things off on the right foot, even though it sucks to see the draft pick and the division finishing position fall. But
we got Justin Jefferson to 1,000 yards. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, that was nice. We decided in the last week of the season that you can throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. That was a great development. We'll have that going into next season. But honestly, my dad walked into the room a couple days ago and said, "It's really sad, but I'm so happy this season's over." And I don't think I've ever heard my dad say that. He's gone through a lot of really, really tough Viking seasons. But this one was one of the more difficult ones, especially with the quarterback position.
Well, let me ask you this. If the Packers lose this week to the Bears in the divisional round, would you rather be 9-8, ending the season on a 5-game win streak, not making the playoffs, or 9-8-1 on a 5-game losing streak and losing to the Bears in the first round of the playoffs?
I would rather have Jordan Love as my quarterback. If I thought this win streak was telling us something about the Minnesota Vikings going into next year, I'd be excited. But the Minnesota Vikings are doing things like winning games with 3 net passing yards. And that's simply not going to work next year. Like the hope was if the Minnesota Vikings go on a run, at least we see JJ McCarthy play well. JJ McCarthy got hurt for the 5th time this season. Like it's just... I'll take the Packers season over whatever we've had.
I think that's fair. I think that's probably the right answer, but it is an interesting juxtaposition of you guys actually going out on a 5-game win streak and the Packers potentially being the exact opposite if they lose this week. Hopefully they don't. We don't have to worry about that, but it would be an interesting conversation.
How unbelievable is that you guys end 4-game losing streak. We have 5 in a row and we're still out. Like we're still not in the play. We've still been eliminated for 5 weeks. I thought, one of the funnier tweets that people were putting out this weekend was, had the Vikings beaten the Bears, they would have won the NFC North with the way things finished. Now, I'm sure then Green Bay would have played their starters,
and we still would have beaten them.
Yeah, I don't know. If it had mattered, we would have lost. We would have lost in Dallas or something. But once it didn't matter, that's when we truly became unbeatable. I will say, though, JJ did play a lot better towards the second half of the season. There were a couple stats that came out. He was actually towards the top of like EPA per play for quarterbacks, I think, towards the end of the year, amazingly. And there are some positives you can take away from this. It's just that when you look at the season as a whole, like obviously the start was horrendous and the continuous injuries are just really hard to find any true positivity around. So like if you look hard, you can find some areas of development and growth. But there was just never anything strung together and never anything that made you really believe heading into next year that we found our guy. I'm guessing they're going to try and bring some veteran in, as we've talked about a few times. Because, it's uncomfortable to think of just JJ in that QB room. And even going into this year, it seems that's come out that the Vikings were very disappointed and a little surprised that Daniel Jones left. They were hoping he would be the guy to compete with JJ. And clearly, they mismanaged as well the expectations for him this year. So just it's a huge offseason, though. It's going to be a really, really big offseason with some key decisions to be made.
Did you feel like it was telling, just kind of reading between the lines, the Justin Jefferson comments on JJ, the Kevin O'Connell comments on JJ? I know, at least on the outside looking in, it felt like both were kind of trying to be as nice as possible while also... like they're having the connotation of, we got to do something different. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing there. Maybe there's something there. I was just curious what you guys thought on both of their comments on McCarthy.
Ziggy, do you want to take this one? Or
yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson has said the right thing basically every single time he's been asked this year. The one time he didn't say the right thing was when he just decided not to talk to the media. And Alec Lewis, I think, who I really like, ran a good piece where he's like, you can't take that for granted, having your star wide receiver come out and always say, I support the quarterback. I want what's best for the team, whatever. Yeah. But also, I mean, you can't, after what we saw this year, be totally irresponsible to come out and say, yeah, JJ's the starter next year. He's going to do great. Nothing has to be different. I think everybody in the room wants JJ McCarthy to be the starter. They want him to play well, right? The team... It's rare that a quarterback plays this poorly and basically the whole team rallies around him. And that's a credit to the coaching staff and the players. But we can't do another year of this. If Paul's dad is upset with the Minnesota Vikings and feels like he can't take it, Justin Jefferson, whose Hall of Fame trajectory is getting interrupted by this, can't either.
There's a certain degree of honesty, too, that you just need to have when you're at the podium, or else, like, look at Jonathan Gannon right now. I know a lot of Cardinals fans were furious that he never seemed to really indicate like the truth of the situation. And, now he's gone. If Kevin O'Connell came out and all he said was, JJ like really progressed well. We're in a great spot heading into next year. Every single Viking fan would look at that and say, like, how tone deaf is this guy? Like, could he not see what's actually happening here? So I think he said it in the best manner possible. Like they always, Ziggy, you said it, Jefferson, O'Connell, they always say the right thing. It's and I was happy to hear them say, in a sense, like, all right, we can't repeat this year, because you can't. If you repeat next year, everyone's going to freak out, and the roster the house
will get cleaned if they repeat next year. If they don't bring in back and JJ McCarthy's bad again?
Oh, it would absolutely, and even O'Connell would then be in danger if they just did nothing and had next season, be the same thing as this year. So I was happy to hear them say that, Andy. You have to. You just have to.
Couple things. You need to implement a Paul's dad-o-meter on like the Paul Farrington show of like where the Viking season is at based on where Paul's dad is kind of feeling on the year. So you got to figure out that. That's a good shtick. And I don't even know what the other thing I was going to say because that one is too good of an idea. So yeah, that's the main thing. Just make sure you implement that.
We can probably get that. I think I told you guys this, and it probably was a good warning sign of things to come, but when I definitely told you guys this. When we drafted Ponder, I threw probably one of the largest Vikings hissy fits of my life, and my dad just stood up and said, "You've ruined the draft," and went to sleep. So like that would have been misery, pure misery as a Viking fan, and I guess it kind of showed. All right, we're going down this path here. Usually it's somewhere I'd say in the red area, but yeah, it's tough watching Darnold. I was
gonna say too, like Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion, deserves a hell of a lot of credit for going 9-8 on a season. And again, I get a lot of the wins were post elimination or whatever, but 9-8 with like having Carson Wentz, McCarthy, Max Brosmer, and just that, set of quarterbacks throughout the course of the year. To me, that's a pretty impressive overall outcome. And I obviously Brian Flores plays a huge part in the what the defense did and that as well. But that to me is a pretty impressive outcome given all things at quarterback for this team.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how many teams in the NFL just quit playing football once they were eliminated from the postseason, the fact the Minnesota Vikings did exactly the opposite, it's a big deal, right? Like, I'd much rather be the Minnesota Vikings than the Jets, who might be the worst team in the history of football after they got eliminated.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about with finding the positives in the winning streak, despite what it does to to the offseason and the draft pick. You feel better about the culture of the team, and O'Connell and Flores. Obviously, we want Flores to stay. That's going to be a major talking point. Maybe the biggest one of the offseason, other than quarterback for the Vikings, is what happens with Brian Flores. But yeah, I mean, you look at the team as a whole, and you say this coaching staff has done a really good job with the guys they have. Part of the problem, though, is the guys that they actually have decided to go with over the course of the past few years. And that's where you call Kwesi's job into question. But O'Connell, too, should shoulder a lot of the responsibility for what happened with the team this year, right? I mean, they went in with way too much stock in McCarthy. They put their chips all in on guys like Hargrave and Jonathan Allen and Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, injury-prone guys, older guys, and it didn't work out. When you see some of the other teams like the Patriots, right? Think about the guys they invested in. Look where they are. Look at the Bears, who they invested in, where they're at now. And that just calls into question me, okay, like how good are we at actually identifying the talent and putting the right roster out there? Because it felt like we were really close, and I think we're still really close, but we couldn't get those final pieces to push ourselves over the hump. And that's something that needs to be fixed this offseason. I don't expect them to be a Super Bowl team next year just because of the guys that are available at QB mostly. But it's it was just a major problem last offseason. And while we can give everyone props for, I guess, making lemonade out of the lemons they had, we also need to recognize that there were some massive, massive, massive mistakes the previous offseason.
I think the juxtaposition between the Bears and the Vikings on the interior of the offensive line, both of them went 3 new interior offensive linemen, right? And for you guys spend a first round pick, get Jackson at left guard, Kelly, and then Fries on the interior, didn't really work out the way that you guys expected. And meanwhile, Chicago gets Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney, and Drew Dahlman, and those 3 work out incredible. I mean, that's again a pretty big juxtaposition between the 2 there. And then just the other thing I was going to say too about Flores, obviously seemingly a lot of smoke to Vegas right now, potentially for Flores as the head coach. That feels like it would be a massive loss. Obviously, not breaking any news there for Minnesota, but if all of a sudden, the quarterback position is still in flux, we don't know who Minnesota might get to either compete or just take the job from JJ. And now Flores is gone and you have a big defensive coordinator hired to make as well. You're obviously going to have a lot of decisions on some veteran guys. Like I would assume Aaron Jones is probably going to be gone, but you guys would know better than I would. And some of the other veterans on the team, this is going to be you guys are going to have a very fun offseason from a content standpoint. And there's going to be, I think, a lot of moving parts for the Vikings this offseason.
I mean, I'll make a bold proclamation that's probably not true, but I can't think of a counterexample. I do not think, with respect to like win totals that you can expect for a team next year, there's a single more important coordinator than Brian Flores for the Minnesota Vikings. Because it's not just that Brian Flores is an elite defensive coordinator, which there's no doubt he is, but some of the most important players on our defense and guys that are going to have huge roles with this cap crunch coming up next year, like Josh Metellus. Josh Metellus has been unbelievable for us this year. But if you get rid of Brian Flores and replace him with a generic defensive coordinator, Josh Metellus is going to go back to a guy who his first 2 years on the Vikings couldn't get above a 5% snap count, right? Like the Vikings, the defense is built around players that Flores can use really well on bargain deals. It's going to be very hard for the Minnesota Vikings to adjust. And like, it's not like you can bring in someone who does what Flores does and try and keep the same system. Nobody else does that.
Yeah.
That would be horrible.
There's going to be some interest. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, there's going to be some interesting candidates, whether it be Raheem Morris, who just got fired, or I'm sure there's a variety of defensive coordinator possibilities out there. But yeah, that would be a massive loss for Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I'm keeping my eye on. It's quarterback and D coordinator for us right now. That's some teams have, like, Brad Holmes is the star of the Lions in a sense. You know, you have the big quarterback stars of their teams. Our stars feel like O'Connell and Flores. So if we lose Flores, it's gonna just be tough to replace. It's impossible to replace guys like that. So, all right. Speaking of coordinators that are hard to replace, the Lions didn't do a great job of that, losing Ben Johnson, but now here he is facing off with Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. Unless you guys have any more final comments on Vikings Packers.
No. Great transition, Paul. Unbelievable transition.
Thank you. I try.
I had 17 more things to say, but I'm not ruining that transition whatsoever. We're talking Packers Bears now.
So it's round 3 now of Packers Bears. First round went to Green Bay. In Green Bay, Caleb throws an interception in the final minutes of the game in Packer territory. Then we have round 2, which we won't talk about too long for Andy's sake. Obviously, we all know Packers kind of dominate when Jordan Love goes down. Malik Willis is a great game. The onside kick heard around the world that the Bears recover. They win in overtime on one of the better passes of the year on Caleb Williams' bomb to DJ Moore. Unbelievably fun Saturday night game. Well, they're back at it on Saturday night. We were saying, Andy, if you're a Packer fan, forget about Saturday nights because they've been playing, 3 of the last 4?
They're used
you've got
by
plans.
Now.
Yeah, cancel all your plans. Saturday night. It's Packers and it's Bears. I love to see, I don't know if he actually was talking smack, but some Packer websites are already running segments that Ben Johnson's talking shit about Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. And personally, I love it. The quote was, "We're quickly turning the page here. Everyone's disappointed. I appreciate their effort. Some teams, they rest their starters. We don't. We play football." Now, who knows if that's really a shot at Green Bay? But I'm going to treat it as one. I think it's the more hatred in this rivalry, the better from my point of view. But what I want to ask you, Andy, is do you think it's a bad move to kind of, poke the bear right before playing them here? No pun intended.
He already has the LaFleur comments in the offseason, right, of how he likes beating Matt LaFleur twice per year. So there's already that extra motivation. Obviously, it's a postseason game. I don't think there's anything that could motivate a team any more than a wild card game against a team that you hate, etc. So, yeah, go for it. It is interesting. Congratulations. You played your starters and you were honorable in your game, where you actually had something to play for when Green Bay didn't, by the way. But also, you ended up in the exact same spot with a loss to a division opponent. We did it with Clayton too, and you did it with your starters. Congratulations, Ben Johnson. Very, very honorable way to lose. We appreciate your efforts.
And I will say, it's not just a loss to any division opponent. It's a loss to a division opponent that notoriously exhausts the teams that play them. And I think in the past 2 years, teams that have played the Lions are 11-22 in the rest of their games.
While I wish we were actually in this game as a Viking fan, I will say, kind of stepping back and just watching this all as a third party, sort of like the odd man out, has been very entertaining to me, and it's going to be entertaining all week long. So, all right, guys, I have a couple would you rather questions for this game, if you don't mind me, running with that.
Let's do it.
So, would you rather straight up, Ben Johnson or Matt LaFleur?
Ziggy, you go first.
Matt LaFleur always has the quarterback ready to play. That just seems to be what his MO is. Ben Johnson has not been tested in the playoffs before. I think LaFleur, one thing he's done really well this season is learned from the mistakes he's made before. I'm going to take him just because he has so much more experience as the head coach in the playoffs.
Ziggy took the words out of my mouth. I think playoff experience and playoff coaching experience really matters. And I think that's going to be beneficial to Matt. I think the playoff experience for Jordan is going to be beneficial for him over Caleb. If you were talking about like, hey, you're starting a franchise today and you can have either Ben Johnson or Matt LaFleur, I think that's a really interesting question. And if anyone wanted to make the argument for Ben Johnson, I would certainly hear it and would have no issue with it. But I think in a one-game playoff scenario based on the experience, I would go with Matt LaFleur for this one.
This could be the one time over the next handful of years where Matt LaFleur is the answer to this question. Because I agree with you. I think Ben Johnson is going to continue to get better and better, but we have seen multiple times this year, and it's gotten better as the year's gone on, right? Where Ben Johnson's kind of just had this look on his face like, damn it. I think he actually said this weekend should have gone for it. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
We're second guessing himself. And that's not to exonerate Matt LaFleur from some of the decision making that he's made. I mean, that feels like it's almost the MO, right? Of LaFleur.
Yeah.
So I would probably like by one tick lean LaFleur, but it would not surprise me at all if this is the like crowning jewel of the Bears season and Johnson has a great game. You actually, Andy, you answered the second one. It was going to be Caleb Williams versus Jordan Love. Typically, I think we'd all say Love, but given the injury, hasn't played in a few weeks, I want all of that to be wrapped up into consideration.
I'll go first. To me, it's Jordan Love. It's easy. I have no question whatsoever. I'd take Jordan in this one and moving forward.
Yeah, I know we need to run a Would You Rather segment, which requires you to ask questions about two choices, but Jordan Love is clearly the quarterback you want in this game.
Okay.
Even if you set aside all the playoff experience, like I'm not worried about Jordan Love coming off an injury, but he could have played last week. Like he's going to be ready to play playoff football. I have zero concern about Jordan Love.
It's not even like, is it even a consideration to you guys? You guys seem to just absolutely completely dismiss that one.
Well, I mean, if you look back last year, now granted, it was against you guys, but he came off the MCL injury against you guys in Minnesota. It was clearly not healthy in that game. And he did throw ultimately 3 picks in that game, including the one at the end that ultimately sealed it. But dude threw for 389 yards and 4 touchdowns on what was clearly a bad leg. And after not playing for 2 weeks and still had every ability to go out and play winning football. And so, yeah, I have no concern about any of the rust. And obviously this is a concussion, not a major league injury. That's an impairment for him going into this game. So yeah, I to me, it's a no brainer. But listen, that's not a diss at Caleb. I honestly think after the onside kick recovery from that point forward, like that moment almost woke him up on the season. And I think basically since that point, he's been playing the best football of his career so far. But I would still go with Jordan pretty easily in this one.
Yeah, not to downplay the significance of concussions and their effects, but if this was another groin injury or a leg injury, it would be much more concerning to me about Love. I'm expecting him to come back and be, his normal self. So I'd go Jordan as well. Another one though that as we go forward will be fun. Like this will be a fun question to debate. I'm sure Caleb versus Jordan Love. For the next handful of years, at least that's what you guys and Bears fans are hoping for. And the last one, I just kind of went broader here. The Green Bay defense or the Chicago defense?
Ziggy?
I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Kyler Gordon. What we are hearing from the Chicago Bears, namely, we hope he's going to be able to practice this week, is typically not the sort of thing you hear if Ben Johnson thinks he's going to be back. Even setting that aside, the Bears defense has feasted on turnovers all year long. That's just been how it is for them. But defenses that rely on turnovers in the regular season, especially against inferior opponents, that can dry up very, very quickly going into the playoffs. I know that Green Bay has a lot of injuries. I know that they're playing some of their worst football on defense going into this game. But I think they're less reliant on turnover luck than Chicago. I'm going to take them, but I think this one's very, very close.
I'm not sure if you put these two defenses together that you have with only players who are healthy, that you have a top 10 defense in the NFL. Like they just don't have combined. If you put them combined, they don't have a pass rush. Green Bay, Rashawn Gary and LVN and company are not scaring anyone right now. Like, is Austin Booker the best pass rusher on these two teams combined at the moment? I get Montez Sweat in that conversation too, but like, neither team can get to the quarterback. And even if you put them together, I don't know that either team is getting to the quarterback. So it is I'm going to go with Jeff Hafley as my answer here, is I trust Jeff Hafley, I think a little bit more. But at the same time, Chicago's defense can actually get turnovers and Green Bay has been unable to do that. So if it like sort of Ziggy said, I would say if Chicago gets their usual turnovers, I would take Chicago. Otherwise, if it's just straight up, I think Green Bay's slightly better, but I don't feel good about either of these. I like both of the offenses quite a bit in this game over their counterparts.
Also, playing this Bears defense, if I were a Packers fan, this would feel very scary because if Jordan Love makes just one or two mistakes that lead to a turnover, that could just be the game because I don't count on Green Bay's defense to be able to do the same thing to Caleb Williams. Like, you guys might not get a sack this game. That's just how it goes when you're playing Caleb Williams, this defensive line.
Yeah. If the over-under's at a half a sack in this game for Green Bay, I'd probably go under.
Did you sack him in either game? I don't think. I know in one of them you didn't. I don't think in the first one you did.
Enigbare had one sack on Caleb Williams, right?
Yes, I know Enigbare did, but that might be it. Like you might be sitting at 1 through 2 games so far.
I'm taking a look at it right now. So in the last game, Green Bay had no sacks, no official sacks in the previous game, and then the first matchup,
the first game was 1.
They had Enigbare. So yeah, Enigbare had the 1 sack in the 2 games combined. So yeah, over under on 1/2 sack, which is what they've averaged through 2 games. I'm probably taking the under. I mean, the crazy thing is that our Green Bay's defensive front can't get there, and obviously the Bears' offensive line is pretty damn good. And even if they get there, there's nobody that I actually trust to get Caleb to the ground. I would be willing to bet you if it's a sack, it's on a blitz, like a corner blitz, a double A gap blitz, something where like Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Javon Bullard off the slot, Xavier McKinney or Evan Williams from safety. I'd be willing to bet it's one of those because even if like Rashawn Gary actually gets past somebody, like Caleb just like, oh, okay. And then like takes 1 step back and, Gary goes flying by and Williams escapes it with extreme ease. So that's the really tough part about Caleb is even if you pin him in, he gets out of it. And I don't even know that Green Bay is going to be in a position to pin him in.
No, you combine the pass rush of Green Bay, the line, and Caleb's elusiveness, and you have just 3 things that all work against the Packers in this case.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys this though, because this is my feel from the first 2 games. Now, in the first game, Chicago ran 32 times, but it's really 27 by the running backs. They get 110 yards, so 27 for 110. It's not like they didn't run the football. It's not like they didn't have some success, but it wasn't like the craziest run game in the world. Swift and Monungai had 22 for 108 in the last matchup combined for those 2. I actually felt like in both games that they did not establish the run well enough the way that I would have expected based on especially how bad Green Bay's run defense looks right now. And they've looked worse since the first matchup, but even just the way that they look right now. And I think that I know that you feel comfortable with Caleb throwing and he's been better as of late and you want to stay on balance and you want to get explosives and his elusiveness and ability to avoid sacks is certainly a weapon. But we saw what Green Bay did against Baltimore. I actually think it's been a mistake by Ben Johnson to not even lean into last game, Caleb threw 34 times. Like to me, you should be able to get through this game if you're Chicago with running like 40 times and Caleb throwing like 22 times. If you can do that, I feel a lot better about Chicago's chances. And I would put all the pressure on Green Bay's run defense to try to stop it because after that Ravens game, I just don't know that they can.
If Johnson didn't lean into the run, it feels like it would almost be malpractice after watching what happened against Baltimore. So that to me is like when we're talking about LaFleur versus Ben Johnson, it's, when it's clear as day to everyone watching, oh, okay, like that's how they should attack them. And it makes sense, right? Green Bay's run defense has struggled. Chicago has a great rushing attack. Like you probably don't, if you can, while yes, you do trust Caleb, if you can avoid putting most of the game in his hands, you'd rather just run down their throat the way they did against Philadelphia, right? And dominate that way, and then have Caleb make one or two big plays that he has to, as opposed to shouldering the load the way he did against the 49ers. I would be shocked if the Bears didn't come out with a very aggressive rushing attack. And look, if you guys are able to stop it, all right, you pivot from there. But until you can prove that you can stop it, it would be Monangai and Swift all day for me.
Yep. Same boat.
It looked like you were going to say something there, Ziggy, but there's a nice fake out.
No, it's just, I will say one thing. If you're a Packers fan looking for hope, it's that Ben Johnson, when he was of the Lions, was also very much willing to let the run game get away from him to establish the pass. And we saw it earlier this season. So there is some hope if you're a Green Bay fan.
Is it true?
If Caleb's around 34 to 35 passes, again, like he was in the first two games, I feel better about it than if like Swift and Monangai are around like 40 combined rushes. I'll just put it that way.
No, it's going to make you think that they're trying to play catch up or something like that. Like I think you would sign up right now for Caleb throwing the ball 35 times, and it's just, can you guys get a turnover? Right? Can you make that big play? Think about the last game. I know we keep going back to the Chicago turnovers and whether it's sustainable or not, but if Josh Jacobs doesn't fumble on the 5-yard line in that game, if you guys successfully have the 4th down snap in overtime and Malik doesn't drop it, like there's just a bunch of ways that the Bears have forced these turnovers all year long. So I would actually lean Chicago's defense just because, maybe I'd take Green Bay skill wise, but when you look at the way the Bears have been able to generate turnovers, it's game changing. I mean, how many games have they won this year because they can do that? And you said it, Green Bay is the opposite. They don't get them. And it's not, I don't even think you could say it's, so like a trend of, recently Chicago. No, it's been all season long. We've seen this. One thing though, for you guys is Jordan doesn't turn the ball over. He has 6 picks this year. So I know he did one time. I know. What am I doing here? I don't know if you've seen Andy, but there's almost been like a Paul Farrington show jinx over the past month or two.
Can you pick the Bears at least at the end for me then to even this out a little bit?
Yeah, I'll try and I'll throw you guys a bone. But is it true you only have 2 sacks since Parsons went down?
I'd have to look at that, but that sounds real. And I think one of them was like a Quay Walker stop at the line of scrimmage.
I thought I read somewhere, and my fault for not diving into it more, but I read that you guys, since Micah's gone down, have 2 sacks on Max Brosmer in week 18. And that's it for the Packers collectively, which...
Well, we know in the Bears game, the most recent one, they did not have any. In the Broncos game, and obviously he played in the Broncos game, but they had no sacks in that game either anyway. So they had no sacks in the Broncos game. Against the Ravens, I think it was the Quay Walker. Yeah, the Quay Walker stop at the line of scrimmage, it's a BS sack. It's not a real sack in any way, shape, or form. It looks like it in the box score. It was absolutely not a sack. And in fact, even not only that, but I actually think he got like slight positive yardage on the play. So I actually think it's a stat failure on that one. And then, Bretton Cox and Baron Sorrell have 2 sacks on Max Brosmer this past week with backup defensive ends. So those are the only 2 sacks since Mike going out.
Brutal. That is brutal.
To anyone wondering why the Green Bay Packers, before the season started, were willing to trade the farm to get Micah Parsons, this is why, by the way, because without him, you just don't have a pass rush. And with him, you sort of have one.
And Devontae Wyatt being out, I know he's not like a 10 sack guy or anything like that, but he's the best pass rusher on the interior. So you lose your best pass rusher, period, and one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Let's just say the second best pass rusher in the NFL. And then, you lose your best interior pass rusher. And Rashawn Gary's having an unbelievably terrible year. I don't know if you guys have been following, but I think pretty much everyone expects him to be released now at the end of this year based on his contract and his contributions this year. He has not had a sack or a tackle for loss since I think early to mid-October. It's been like 9 games. He didn't play in this Minnesota game because you got to get him rest when he's in such prime form right now. But it's been brutal from him. LVN's had the injury and is not ever taken that major step forward. And so, Enigbari is only going to get you so far. It's tough. It sucks that they don't have a pass rush right now.
Is Adunze right now? It looks like he's not going to be. That's been a bizarre injury where he's just never playing. I have to imagine he's going to be out.
Yeah, obviously we're recording this Tuesday morning and we have not, seen any sort of injury reports or practice reports from anything this week yet. So yeah, I don't know, but it seems like he has not been trending in the right direction, at least as of recent weeks.
I'm just trying to find where you guys get positivity defensively when we're saying there's no pass rush. Obviously, they're very concerned about the secondary. It's like, where is the bright spot in this matchup for you guys on defense?
I think it's the first 58 minutes of the game in Chicago. They allow, sincerely, they only allow 9 points. And if they get the onside kick recovery, we're talking about that being arguably the best Packers defensive performance of the season, assuming Green Bay could actually, bleed out the clock in that situation, which they had every right to do. And we're legitimately talking about, well, wow, they held that, high-powered Bears offense to only 9 points, no touchdowns, and played some really good football in that game. Now, the Bears had that stupid, snap over the head on the 4th down play early in the game where they should have got point production there. And, obviously in the last 2 minutes, they go nuclear and get, and in overtime, get, the points. And it's not that, but up until that point, I thought they played as good as you could possibly imagine against a pretty dang good Bears offense. So if you're looking for some level of positivity, I think it's probably that.
I wanted to also ask about a little bigger picture for both these teams when we talk about their playoff ceiling. Why don't we start with Green Bay? Does it feel like there is a cap on how far this team can go if they were to get past Chicago? Or in your opinion, Andy, and it sounds like you're leaning towards yes, there being a cap. In your opinion, is it maybe we could get hot and maybe we can go on a run?
I think this is the most interesting playoff field maybe of my lifetime, where it doesn't feel like there is a juggernaut of a team. It doesn't feel, regardless if you're in the AFC, the NFC, it feels like everybody is beatable to some extent. And I honestly think I would very much be surprised if Carolina beat the Rams this week, although they just did it a few weeks ago. I understand that. But other than that, like every game in the playoffs is going to feel to me like it is a true coin flip and could go in either direction. And so that gives me some level of hope, but man, you win in the postseason in the trenches. And for both of these teams, they can't get to the quarterback. And I think that's ultimately going to be too big of an Achilles heel for either of these teams to actually make a Super Bowl championship run, meaning winning 4 games against teams that are really, really good. And then, quite frankly, on the offensive line, I think Green Bay's playing better. They should get Zach Tom back this week, but it's not like they're a dominant team on the offensive line in the trenches either. And you just have to have so many other things go right. I mean, the formula for Green Bay would be Jordan Love gets insanely hot, a la, end of 2023, where just everything looks amazing and you actually start generating turnovers. To me, that's the only formula, and you don't have catastrophic special teams mistakes, which seems to be the norm come Packers postseason time. So just competent special teams, turnovers on defense, and a insanely hot Jordan Love is probably your pathway. And if you get all 3 of those things, I would say, yeah, they've got a chance to make a run. But again, in my opinion, you win in the trenches this time of year. And I just don't think Green Bay has it in the trenches on either side to make a legitimate Super Bowl run right now.
I would probably put the cap. I don't want to put a hard cap on the divisional round, but if they were to beat Chicago this week and go to Seattle, how do you disrupt Darnold? Pressure him, make him make mistakes. As we've said, they just don't have the dogs to do that right now. So I'd be really surprised if they went into Seattle against that defense too, and were able to make Darnold make enough mistakes, right? For a team that doesn't force turnovers, that's how you got to beat Seattle. And I'd expect JSN to have a big game. So I would think that they'd lose to Seattle in a competitive game. But maybe the hard cap, I'd say, is likely the NFC Championship, which is a shame for them because, if everyone's healthy, you might look a little differently on this, or you would look differently on this Packer team. But I'd set it at the divisional round. That feels like where their season, if they were to win, probably comes to an end. But hey, that's why you play the games. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I always get nervous putting hard caps on teams because this makes it sound like, okay, if the Packers win, there's no chance they're able to win the divisional round. They just have no chance.
No, I'm just trying to adhere to the segment, Ziggy. I'm just trying to adhere.
But no, I get that. But I just mean, like, if you want to look at an example in recent history for a team, if you're trying to figure out who could the Packers be like, among recent Super Bowl champions, I think the 2023 Chiefs are probably the team to look to. They really struggled in the run game, right? Through that playoff run, I know they had some stars on defense, but Chris Jones had probably his weakest playoff run of his career. The defensive line was not getting pressure. And Patrick Mahomes was able to consistently lift that team up in nail biters against Buffalo, Baltimore, and San Francisco. Like, again, I mean, you have to look to Super Bowl champions. You're never going to get a super clean fit. But I think Andy's right. This is the year if you want a weak team with a quarterback who gets hot to go on a run, like this is it. And the Green Bay Packers, I think, have a player who's capable of doing that. So I don't want to sit back and say, like, there's a hard cap. This team just can't win. Like the Carolina Panthers have a hard cap. I'm sorry, the Carolina Panthers, if they somehow win their first round game, do not have a chance of going past the divisional round.
You want to be the one to cap the Panthers? You could be the one to cap the Panthers.
Yeah, I'll do it right now. I'm not going to say the things I would do on this show if the Carolina Panthers made it to the NFC Championship game. I don't even know. But
can you imagine if it's Panthers Bears in the NFC Championship game in Chicago? Can you imagine if we
the wailing and gnashing of teeth from Packers fans? Like, we absolutely would have won a Super Bowl if the Carolina Panthers would have been the opponent they'd play.
Well,
just unbelievable.
Andy, I don't know how closely you followed Jack's takes from our show, but Jack, for years, basically just said how much he dislikes Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. And he said, if we wind up with the Panthers-Bears NFC Championship or just any playoff matchup, it would have to be like the FU Jack Weinberger Bowl, where it would just be the nightmare. He's kind of actually come around on both those guys. It reminded me, Ziggy, of when I was watching the 2017 NFC Championship game, NFC Championship game weekend, when for a brief moment I thought it was about to be Jaguars-Vikings in the Super Bowl. As they were beating the Patriots by 10 in the fourth quarter, I was like, okay, like we are going to win the Super Bowl. Like that's just going to happen this year. And then what about Chicago? Is Chicago a little
just
bit
really
more?
Quick on the Packers one? Unless they play the Rams in the NFC Championship game, the Packers are going to have the better quarterback in every matchup. It's not, again, could Caleb outplay Jordan this weekend? Sure. Could Sam Darnold outplay, Jordan Love in the NFC divisional champion? Absolutely. Like, especially against that Seattle defense. But if your pathway is Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold, and either, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, or, Bryce Young, going in to try to make it to a Super Bowl, like that's like not the worst pathway for this team to try to get there. And when you have the advantage at quarterback, you've got a chance every single week. So again, Jordan's going to have to be unbelievable Jordan in order to make any sort of significant run. And if it's just like good average Jordan, they're probably dead on arrival for any game. So it starts with him. And if he can ball out, then again, they're going to be the better quarterback in any matchup that doesn't include Matthew Stafford in the NFC.
And Ziggy, I know it's sort of grasping at straws with the comparisons like you were saying, but the one thing in that comparison to the Chiefs is the Chiefs defense first was awesome all year. But imagine if the Chiefs defense was missing Chris Jones for that run, right? Like that's the problem I have with Green Bay is it just doesn't seem to be there defensive. Like they're going to have to, as you said, Andy, generate turnovers, which is, if they were doing it all year, maybe I'd be more inclined. If you just flip the Bears and Packers defenses, it actually might lean more towards the Packers going on a big run, because the Bears have shown the ability to have those, those big moments that Green Bay hasn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Ziggy, you keep faking me out. Like you're moving. You keep getting me with the movement.
Look, all I'm going to say is you're always a choker until you stop choking and get it done.
Yeah, very true. And then what about Chicago? Do you guys think Chicago maybe a game further?
It's so tough to go on a run in the NFL when you haven't been there before, right? Playoff football in the NFL is just different. And you're asking a first-time head coach and a quarterback who's going into the postseason for the first time to go on a run. It's hard for me to see when there's so much Super Bowl experience in the NFC, right? Even they probably, like, you're probably going to have to play the Rams or the Eagles. That's just how it is. You're looking at Super Bowl champions if you're the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to put a run together.
I think if they win and Philly wins and they get another matchup with Philly, we obviously saw what happened in Philly. Now, I don't think it's going to be quite that same sort of game, but we saw that they can beat Philly. So they've beat Green Bay, they've beat Philly, and then you kind of go from there. But ultimately say the same thing is that you win in the trenches. And while I think Chicago's offensive line is really, really good and can help them and go a long way, a defensive line that's atrocious and a secondary that allows people wide open for a huge chunk of the game. And again, just a young quarterback and inexperienced head coach. I think there's a ceiling there. I would be pretty surprised if you told me that either the Bears or the Packers are the team that's representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think I'd be pretty surprised by that outcome. But yeah, I could probably say the same thing about anybody besides the Rams, and the Rams haven't even been playing good football.
No, that's what makes it so
the 49ers, open. Yeah, the 49ers and their defense would surprise me. Obviously, Carolina would be stunning. Philadelphia is playing nowhere near like Super Bowl caliber football this year. And I get they're still a really good team and they know how to win and things like that. But I would still be kind of surprised if it was them. And then you get to Packers and Bears, and again, the Rams have not played good football. They've been banged up as well, and their defense has not exactly been stellar. So, you just start looking at some of these matchups, and I just, again, outside of what I believe will be a pretty easy Rams win, I guess I didn't say Seattle. Seattle's in a good spot, but as you guys know, it always just feels like Sam Darnold's a ticking time bomb, and at some point, that's going to go off and it's just going to be like, well, we couldn't overcome that. And if he doesn't have that, I not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but, and I think maybe we talked a little bit about Stroud last week as well. But to me, Sam Darnold and CJ Stroud are the two biggest X factors, because with the way that those Seattle and Texans defenses are playing right now, if you get really good quarterback play from Darnold and CJ Stroud, I just don't know how you beat those teams. So those two are the biggest X factors in this playoffs for me.
I think you're totally right. The Houston defense and the Seattle defense are probably in each conference, the unit, right? Offense or defense, the unit you trust the most in either side of the bracket. And yeah, I trust Darnold more than I trust Stroud, because Darnold's been borderline top 10 quarterback for most of the year. But yeah, and they're the 1 seed too. I mean, things are really Seattle getting that punt return touchdown. Like, I still think the Rams are a better team than Seattle, but Seattle having that magical, Bears Packers-esque finish a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, that game could wind up deciding who's going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, if the Rams were the 1 seed, I might pick LA. I probably would pick LA. But yeah, you said it. The way that they're faltering right now, it does feel wide open. To go back just to the Bears for a second, I would probably put them at the NFC Championship, would be my guess. I think if Green Bay was hosting this, if you flip the seeding of the Bears and Packers, I would say the same thing for Green Bay. Having Philly in the second round, that's why I didn't get the Eagles resting their starters, because I would pick Philly 9 times out of 10 in Philly. But if that game in Chicago is in Chicago, or against the Bears is in Chicago, yeah, like that, I think the Bears are probably going to win that game. And it's just, with the NFC teams, as you said, it feels like there's the NFC North teams. It feels like there's probably a cap, but you never know.
And to be fair to Nick Sirianni, and not that I want to defend Nick Sirianni all that much, but to be fair, he had to know that the Packers are going to beat the Bears this week. So he knew it didn't matter anyway, that they basically get the better of the 2 seeds. And, so that I think it was a very smart move by Nick Sirianni, understanding that the Packers are going to win this game either way.
If Love were to, let's say Jordan Love came out this week, throws for 3 touchdowns, Packers look great. They win by 10 points or 14, whatever. It's with the way people react in football, there will immediately be steam behind you guys going on the Super Bowl run. Like, that's a world that can happen, Andy, right?
Yeah, I still don't know that I would believe the steam, but I think you're 1,000,000% correct that there would be steam. Like, I would need to see something of like LVN, like all of a sudden, like, oh my God, he looks like the first round pick they were expecting, or Rashawn Gary is back into form and had like 3 sacks in this game, or like, I need to see something from the defense to say like, okay, they figured something out here of how they can get to the quarterback. Outside of that, I think it'll be fool's gold, but you're 1,000,000% right that if they would all of a sudden win this game, like 27 to 13 or something, and the Bears getting a late touchdown to even make it look that good. Then yes, I think there would all of a sudden be like, well, look out for the Packers, and then Seattle could easily still shut them down the next week. But there would be steam.
Well, you guys have playoff success in Seattle, so it would be a place for you to go. Feeling comfortable.
Yeah. what more could you possibly want? They're going to have to exercise a lot of demons. Obviously, just losing to Chicago in Chicago on the onside kick. Going back to Seattle where they lost on the onside kick.
Maybe this is the way you do that. Beat Chicago.
And then either probably at least a decent chance of either Philly and Philly, where they just lost last year, where they had the Freddie Mitchell, 4th and 26 play, or San Francisco and San Francisco, where they've had a billion playoff losses. Including the Terrell Owens play. We've had Kaepernick stuff. We've had obviously that one was in Green Bay, but the blocked punt by San Fran. So unless it's the Rams who they've actually had playoff success against, and the Panthers who they've had, NFC Championship win against, they're going to have to go on a exercise the demons tour with, Chicago. Chicago is not in the playoffs. They obviously won the 2010 NFC Championship game there, but recent loss to Chicago, but then Seattle, and then probably their Eagles or San Fran.
Well,
definitely have to exercise some demons.
And then who the Super Bowl would be against in this case.
Oh, Denver?
No. Your guy. Rodgers.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, well, Denver. I was thinking Denver because they lost the Super Bowl to Denver in Super Bowl.
We could
32.
go back. Yeah, we could go that far back if you want.
We could go that far, but yeah. Can you imagine a Rodgers Packers? That would be honestly one of the most absurd outcomes of this entire insane season if you got Rodgers versus the Packers in the Super Bowl. Although
it would fit 2025 football. That's all I'm saying.
It would.
Or Rodgers Bears would probably be even funnier. All right, why don't we predict a couple of these games and then we'll get out of here. We'll go in order of the games if that works with you guys.
Perfect.
Rams at Panthers. Rams are 10.5-point favorites.
I'll take the Rams. No, I mean, I get that the Panthers won recently, but no, it's Rams get this one pretty easy.
This may be the least watched playoff game in the history of wildcard games. I'm taking the Rams. I'm probably not.
No respect for the Carolina Panthers on this show. I will also go with the Rams, but I will just say the Panthers winning feels like the right outcome for the way this year is going.
I'm not respecting the 8 and 9 Panthers that lost 2 must-win games in a row going into the playoffs.
If the Rams do lose, though, I think the entire NFC playoff field goes, whoa, like this. It suddenly kind of opens up a little bit more. I know that the Rams are a wild card team, but when you eliminate the top dog quarterback, all of a sudden, like Seattle would just feel like, all right, we can cruise to the Super Bowl. And after Seattle, I think everyone goes, okay, we're kind of on even playing field here. Like there's a shot. Second game on Saturday is Green Bay, who are still 1.5-point favorites at Chicago Saturday night.
This one keeps going back and forth. So I have 1.5-point favorites for Chicago on what I'm looking at. It's been going back and forth constantly. The money line's basically equal. Mm-hmm. So Packers minus 112 in the money line, Bears minus 108 with what I'm looking at. So again, just depends on how you want to look at it. But this is about as coin flip of a game that you get. I'll take Green Bay, but I think this is going to be an insanely entertaining game. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of points, and I think this comes down to a last-second field goal or missed field goal. I'll take Green Bay 30-28.
The Green Bay Packers really won 118 of the 120 minutes they played the Bears this year. So really that means there's a 98.3% chance that the Green Bay Packers win this game. I'll be serious. This is a really close game. This is a really exciting game. But for the reasons we said earlier, the playoff experience and the quarterback, I'm going to take Green Bay to win in a nail-biter 27-24.
Yeah, 27-24, 30-28 on a game-winning field goal. That sounds like a non-stressful Saturday evening for Andy Herman and Packers fans.
For both fans, yeah.
I'm gonna take Green Bay.
No,
I know.
Yeah,
hold on. I'll take Chicago, and I'll take Chicago big in this one. Love throws 2 or 3 interceptions. The Packer defense is helpless. They don't come close to generating a turnover. So that'll be my official prediction. What I'll say that there's also the chance of happening is that the Packers, control the game more so in the way that they did the first 2, where you feel like it's a game the Packers should win, and there's not a historic collapse at the end, allowing Chicago to come away with the win. That's one path I can see it going down, but my prediction will be Bears big in Soldier Field.
It'd be fitting for this game if the Packers were up, let's say 30-24, or like, let's say this, 30-17, Bears get a touchdown to make it 30-24. Packers go 3 and out, punt back to the Bears, and they've got like 2.5 minutes left. And this comes down to a final drive for Caleb Williams, down by 6. And we've seen like just the Bears have like won these games late, and like Caleb gets hot late after not doing much through the course of the game. They just had a touchdown drive. You went 3 and out, and all of a sudden it's down to Caleb and the offense versus this Packers defense that can't get home. Who played well before the final touchdown, and everyone's just sweating it out of like, oh my God, we just went through this. So the Bears going to do it again. It would feel fitting if this was a game that exactly happened like that. And it just comes down to a final Bears drive, just like it did in the first game where Keyshawn Nixon gets the pick. And just like it did in the final week where obviously they are able to get it to overtime and then throw the game winning touchdown at the end. It would feel fitting if it came down to something like that.
Both of these have come down to Chicago inside like the 10-yard line or 15-yard line on 4th down, right?
Yeah, because the Nixon pick was on 4th down, right?
I think it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2.
Yeah. So Nixon pick on 4th, and then the play that Nixon screwed up.
Yeah, so maybe it comes down to him.
On the play.
Maybe it comes down to Keyshawn Nixon at the end. Okay,
it'll end up with the ball in Keyshawn Nixon and a Bears receiver in the end zone. It's a simultaneous catch, and they call it, touchdown Seahawks is what's going to happen.
It'll be like Rocky 2, and we'll just see who comes away with the ball. So
they're just going to fade to black. It's just going to fade to black, and we're never going to know.
The Bills and the Jaguars Sunday at 1. Buffalo's a 1.5 point favorite. Actually, one of the games I'm most looking forward to this weekend.
Agreed.
I'm taking Superman. I like the Jaguars. I like Trevor Lawrence. They're a fun team to watch. I'm taking Josh Allen 10 times out of 10 in the playoffs.
I'm going Jacksonville. Pull, shock the world. I know it's only 1.5, and Jacksonville's at home, and they're 13-4 with the better record. But Jacksonville shocks the world. Jaguars win, and I think they win 28-20. They win by more than a touch. Well, I guess a touchdown, 2-point conversion.
I'm starting to get the looming suspicion that Jacksonville will win this game too, and that this is going to be one where everyone just automatically pulls the Ziggy and says Josh Allen. And that's a fair poll, by the way. Says Josh Allen's on Buffalo. The Jaguars don't have him. I'm going to go with Josh Allen. But the Jacksonville team is better than the Buffalo team. And the Bills, if Buffalo wins this one and Josh Allen comes out and looks like an MVP, most people are going to pick them to go to the Super Bowl. But Jacksonville's been really good lately. I'm going to go Jacksonville in a close one. Niners at Philly. Philly's a 4.5 point favorite.
Just really quick before that, which coach needs a win more this week? Is it Sean McDermott? Is it Matt LaFleur? Or I thought there was one other one. I guess those are the main two. Is it Sean McDermott or Matt LaFleur? Which one needs a win bigger this week?
It's got to be Sean McDermott, I think. The Bills' window is closing, and there have been a lot of complaints about McDermott for a long time. LaFleur has a plausible injury excuse. The Packers, I don't feel like he is wearing out his welcome. The offense, which he's there to do, is still playing well. McDermott, I think, will actually lose his job if the Bills don't win a playoff game. I think LaFleur will be fine if you guys get bounced by the Bears.
No Mahomes.
Tomlin was the other one. Tomlin was the third one I was thinking of. So I would agree, though. I think McDermott's under the most pressure this week.
Yeah, no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow. It has to be now for them. And then Tomlin, I don't know. It's weird how if that kick goes in for Baltimore, all of a sudden it's what happens with Rodgers? What happens? Is Tomlin going to be back? And now it's what happens with Lamar? Is Harbaugh going to be back? That kick really kind of controlled a lot of media narratives for both of those teams. And maybe honestly kept Tomlin's job amazingly. San Francisco and Philly. Philly's 4.5 point favorite.
There might not be a bigger believer in the San Francisco 49ers and their offense than me this year. I don't see why I should change now. They had one bad game and everybody's ready to count out Brock Purdy. Andy, I think you said it well. The Philadelphia Eagles, they've got a lot of great players. They've got a great name, but they are not playing winning football or anything even very close to it. I think the 49ers are going to be able to get it done.
I'm with Ziggy. I'm surprised it's actually 4.5. I feel like this game is closer. I don't know. Maybe Vegas knows something I don't, but I'm going to take San Fran in this game as well. I think Brock Purdy outperforms Jalen Hurts in this game. I think McCaffrey outperforms Saquon Barkley, and I think San Francisco finds a way to win.
Great running back matchup. I'm going to go Philly. Not a believer in the 49ers, as Ziggy knows. The Chargers are 3.5 point dogs at New England.
Justin Herbert.
Go ahead.
There you go. I was just going to say, Justin Herbert has struggled in the playoffs historically. I am not convinced that he's as good as analysts say he is. I like Drake May. He's playing good football. The Patriots are at home. It's going to be a cold day in Foxborough. They get it done. I'm taking the Patriots to win and win big.
Ziggy and I are in lockstep again. I take the Patriots. I think it'll be closer, but I think Patriots win by 6.
I got New England too. New England would be my pick to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC right now. So that would mean they have to win this game. The Texans and the Steelers in Pittsburgh, Monday night. Houston, a 3.5-point favorite on the road, where Mike Tomlin does not lose on Monday night in Pittsburgh.
This is a good one. So Aaron Rodgers actually has an AFC North title. Do you know when the last time the Cleveland Browns won an AFC North title was?
Oh my God.
When it was the Baltimore Ravens franchise?
Yeah, have they won an AFC North?
I shouldn't have said that. The Cleveland Browns have never won the AFC North. When was the last time the Ravens won their division?
The Ravens or who? The Browns?
Or the Browns, excuse me.
The 80s, I'll say. No, probably.
It was 1989 with the high-flying offense led by Webster Slaughter at wide receiver. That is the last time the Cleveland Browns won their division. I've been a Steelers hater all year, but unlike the San Francisco 49ers, I actually am going to change my mind. It's Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. He's got a grudge. I'm taking the Steelers at home with their offense, I guess. I'll take them to win. It's going to be ugly. 14-13.
I think we saw Aaron's last stand on his game-winning touchdown drives last week. I think that was his last bit of magic that he had. I think this Texans defense is going to pummel him. I think it's going to make for a long day for a 40-plus-year-old quarterback. Texans win 21-6.
Wow. I'm going with Houston as well. Again, the defense is the unit I trust the most in the AFC. But I will say strange things happen in Pittsburgh, especially in night games. You got priests dousing holy water in the end zone. I'm not going to be the one to say that didn't have an impact, but it's weird how the ball bounces for the Steelers in their building. And Houston seems like the perfect opponent for the ball to bounce the wrong way in that kind of a game. So I'm picking Houston, and Houston is the better team, but there could very well be some dark magic in play that pushes Aaron Rodgers into. I mean, we could be, if this Bears season really is as magical, like Ziggy said, if the priest is dousing holy water in the end zone for the Steelers, like who knows what happened in Chicago. The ultimate way for the Bears season to end would be beating Rodgers in the Super Bowl. I mean, that'd be the ultimate vindication for them. And that might just pull the Steelers along. Like, I'm not sure. It feels like those two might be on a collision course, and then we'll see which side of history, which magic wins in that game. But I'm gonna go Houston as well, despite that rant.
I will say this: I'm okay. I'm not jealous of you. There is a piece of me that like you guys just get to enjoy playoff football and don't have any. Obviously, I'd rather have the stakes. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather have the stakes, but the Saturday night is going to be very important, just because I don't know how you guys feel usually, but like if your team loses a playoff game like early, or just like loses a game, like the next day is just inherently not as much fun. So like there's this awesome slate of games on Sunday and Monday, and so if all of a sudden the Bears beat the Packers on Saturday night, it's going to be far less enjoyable. So I really need for multiple reasons, would very much like the Packers to pull out a win this week, so I can just enjoy a lot of playoff football and not have to think about the Packers season being done.
Look, I'd be lying if I said the juice to the channel from a Packers win wouldn't be kind of fun. Like that would be fun for Sunday. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. After the Vikings lost, it's like, all right, I don't care. Like, I haven't watched a lot of college football since Notre Dame got knocked out. It's just, you get so wrapped into, all the games are so much more entertaining when you're still alive. You start playing out the scenarios in your head.
That's why, like, I almost wish it was like the Monday. I don't want it to be the Monday night game for like a, competitive disadvantage purposes or whatever, but like it'd almost be like a nice part of like being the Monday night game, just because like you can watch all the other games, like anticipating of like, oh, what does this mean if we win? And then you get it at the end. And if they lose, it's like, I already got to enjoy the whole, postseason beforehand, or at least the wild card week beforehand. But now if they like lose Saturday night, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm gonna watch these Sunday games, but I'm gonna not enjoy it anywhere near as much.
Yeah, but if you win, it's awesome. It's just
then we're flying high. We're flying high at that point.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Andy, appreciate you coming on early today. We had to record a little earlier than normal as Ziggy is in Cambodia, which is kind of news to everyone. Ziggy, and I appreciate you zooming in from Cambodia. That seems like it might be a difficult place to have a cooperative Zoom. So, we got some playoff football around the corner here, guys. It's sad to say the Vikings aren't in it, but Andy, I will wish you good luck. I hope you guys have I don't know. Yeah, I'll just end it with wishing you guys good luck. Packers Bears is a tough one to watch.
That's enough.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. You guys want to send it off?
Ziggy, you got anything?
Go Pack Go, I guess. I don't know. I got nothing.
I love that. Appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to follow them at Farrington Show. Follow us at Pack-A-Day Podcast. We appreciate you guys checking us both out on both channels. You guys got live streams coming up for postseason. What do you got cooking?
Yeah, we'll have a prediction episode tomorrow for the wild card round, and then we'll be live after the Packer game. Well, maybe we'll find a way to get into your live comments as well and check in on you, whether it's a celebration or a coping session.
Yeah, if it's a celebration, you're welcome. If it's a coping session, I don't know if you're I'm just kidding. But either way, make sure to again check them out. We'll have pre and post game shows on our YouTube channel as well. So keep an eye out for that. I appreciate you guys again joining us. We'll be back next week to cover this one way or the other. Enjoy the postseason, everyone. It doesn't get better than this. And of course, I got to say it this week. Go Pack Go.